When was the last time you were truly alone with your own mind? Not scrolling, not replying, not performing, just sitting. Not for content, not for productivity, but for presence. No filter, no reaction. Just you and the echo of your own thoughts. Hard to remember, isn't it? That's because being alone with yourself has quietly become rare and even uncomfortable. You fill the space with notifications, you fill the silence with updates, you trade reflection for reaction. And every time you do, you lose a little more of your center. Let's be clear, this is not just about screen time. It's not about blaming technology or shaming your habits. This is deeper. This is about identity, sovereignty, and psychic energy. This is about you living inside a machine that mirrors your unconscious without boundaries, without filters, without rest. Carl Jung describes something called the collective unconscious, a vast, invisible field of shared instincts, patterns, and archetypes, the hidden layer beneath our personal minds. In the past, it lived in myths, dreams, and symbols. It spoke in metaphors and images, passed down through stories, rituals, and the inner life. Today, it lives online. The internet is the new collective unconscious, except now it's visible, constant, chaotic. It's not a symbol, it's a scroll. Not a dream, but a feed. Not a whisper from the soul, but a shout from the crowd. And you're in it. Every single day. Every time you check who viewed your story. Every time you feel that quiet panic when a post doesn't get likes. Every time you reply to something just to stay relevant. That's not connection, that's projection. Because the internet doesn't just show you information, it shows you yourself. Your envy, your fear, your desire to be liked, your need to be understood. Every tweet, every post, every comment section is a reflection of a global mind in emotional chaos. And here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. You are constantly available to everyone, but yourself. You give your time to DMs, your mind to content, your heart to reactions, and at the end of the day, you wonder why you feel scattered, tired, or numb. You're not just tired. You're scattered, you're not out of time, you're leaking energy, you're not overwhelmed by life, you're overwhelmed by noise. This is what Jung would call the cost of unconscious living. Your psychic energy, your attention, emotion, vitality is being drained by an endless loop of performance and response. You post to be seen, you respond to be liked, you scroll to escape, you comment to stay included, you explain even when you're unsure. You overshare, even when you're not ready, chips away at your psychic integrity. You've turned your presence into a product. You've turned your truth into a timeline. You've turned your mind into a feed. But here's the good news. What you've built, you can also reclaim. You can feel this right now, can't you? That split inside between what you feel and what you post, between what you know is right and what you're afraid to say, between who you are and who you think you have to be. That's your persona fighting for dominance. Jung warned about this. How the persona is not the self, but a mask. A necessary mask, yes, but dangerous when mistaken for the real thing. And the internet is a playground of personas. We're not talking about avatars or usernames. We're talking about emotional disguises. The people pleaser, the expert, the aesthetic minimalist, the opinion machine, the activist, the stoic, the oversharer, the ghost. Each one curated to earn acceptance, but none of them anchored in sovereignty. And so you scroll and share and shrink and stretch and compromise until there's nothing left but performance. But pause, breathe, ask yourself this. Who are you when no one's watching? Who are you when no one's liking, sharing, or judging? And what would change if you stopped explaining yourself and just lived aligned? Let's get honest. You don't need another productivity hack. You don't need to optimize your habits, your calendar, or your follower count. You need to stop leaking. You need to stop giving your energy to everything that isn't you. Every thread that demands your outrage, every conversation you didn't ask for, every pressure to explain what you already know, every emotional knot you try to untie for someone else. Because here's the thing. Clarity isn't found in more information, it's found in fewer leaks. Hold that. Fewer leaks, you're not broken, you're not weak, you're not behind. You're just split between yourself and your screen. You're just tired. Not because life is too much, but because you're everywhere but here. You're just distracted, not by the world, but by a version of you that's trying too hard to be accepted. So today, let's call it out. You don't owe your energy to everyone. You don't have to explain what you already feel. You don't need to be understood to be valid. You need to reclaim your psychic energy. And that starts with waking up. Now, you wake up and the first thing you check is your phone. You weren't planning to. It's just automatic now. A notification, a message, a missed call, and you post, you scroll, you react, you absorb. And just like that, your center is gone. The outside world has claimed your mind before you even opened your mouth. That's not a morning routine. That's an emotional ambush. And here's the part that stings. You've been trained to see this as normal. You don't question it anymore. The impulse to check, the pressure to answer, the guilt when you don't. But beneath the surface, something deeper is happening. Something Jung tried to warn us about. See, when you react out of habit, not choice, you're being driven by the unconscious. And when that unconscious behavior is shared by millions, that's not just personal conditioning, that's collective hypnosis. So let's get real about the patterns. Why do you over-explain yourself online? Why do you say yes to things you don't feel aligned with? Why do you post things you're not sure you believe, just to avoid judgment? It's not random, it's not harmless, it's not just social media. It's a pattern of shadow avoidance. Carl Jung defined the shadow as the parts of yourself you reject, suppress, or deny, not because they're evil, but because they don't fit the image you want to be loved for. They're messy, vulnerable, contradictory, human. And what does the internet reward? Clarity, consistency, clean branding, unapologetic certainty. But you're not an algorithm, you're not a brand, you're a human being with moods, confusion, contradiction, and change. The moment you hide those parts to fit in, your shadow begins to grow, quietly, powerfully. That's why your triggers are so sharp. That's why you judge so fast. That's why you scroll in anger, envy, or emotional exhaustion. Because you're not just seeing content, you're seeing projections, other people's shadows, and your own. Jung said, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. So when someone posts something that makes you angry, pause. What is that really touching in you? When you compare yourself to someone's curated highlight reel, pause. What part of you are you refusing to love? When you feel like disappearing after posting something vulnerable, pause. What story are you telling yourself about your worth? This isn't just psychology. This is liberation. The moment you recognize projection, you stop bleeding power. You stop outsourcing your self-worth. You stop mistaking your shadow for the enemy and start integrating it as part of your truth. But integration isn't easy in a system that thrives on performance. The internet has weaponized the persona's word for the social mask we wear to navigate society. It's not evil. We all need personas. The problem is when you become the mask. Online, the persona isn't just a mask. It's a platform, a portfolio, a product. You curate it, you polish it, you protect it. And the more attention it gets, the harder it is to let it go. But here's the quiet cost. The louder your persona becomes, the more invisible your real self feels. You start to forget what you actually like because you're posting what will perform. You start to question your worth because it's measured in metrics. You start to shrink in silence because your value has been outsourced to reaction. This is the fragmentation of the self, the emotional burnout, the psychic disorientation. You're not weak. You're misaligned, you're not invisible, you're masked, you're not lost, you're just buried under performance. But you can change that, and the first step is clarity. The internet is not the enemy, but unconscious use of it will fragment your mind. That's the real threat. Not tech, not AI, not algorithms. It's unconscious behavior. Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So don't call your burnout fate. Don't call your anxiety normal. Don't call your disconnection a phase. Call it what it is, a signal. Your soul is tired of being filtered. Your truth is exhausted from being edited. Your mind is ready to belong to you again. So how do you begin? You withdraw projection. You stop making everything out there a mirror for your unprocessed emotion. You stop confusing feedback with identity. You stop using digital reaction as a substitute for self-reflection. Then you reclaim direction. You get clear on who you are, offline. You get honest about what you value when no one's looking. You get brave enough to say, this isn't for me, even if it costs you applause. Say it now. I am not my notifications. I don't explain what I've already chosen. I don't need to be seen to be secure. You don't need to burn everything down. You don't need to disappear. You just need to pause long enough to see yourself again. Not the version that's liked, not the version that's shared, the version that's been waiting underneath it all, to be seen by you. And when you meet that version, everything changes. You've been programmed to respond, to say yes before you check in with your gut, to answer messages the moment they appear, to perform certainty when you're full of doubt, to put clarity into captions when your real life is still unfolding. This isn't connection. This is reflex. And reflex is not choice. Reflex is programming. It's how you stay acceptable in the eyes of others, even when it costs you yourself. But here's your wake-up call. Clarity doesn't come from reflex. It's forged in resistance. You don't find yourself by being more available. You don't heal by being more palatable. You don't become whole by always being online. You get there by pausing, by holding the line, by reclaiming the power to say, not this, not now, not me. Because every time you say yes from guilt, you betray your alignment. Every time you explain yourself just to soothe someone else's discomfort, you dilute your truth. Every time you rush to respond out of fear of being left out or forgotten, you abandon your own nervous system. And let's be real, this isn't just emotional. It's neurological, psychological, existential. Your nervous system is not designed for constant interruption. Your mind is not wired for 10 conversations at once. Your soul cannot grow when it's always reacting. You need stillness to integrate. You need boundaries to become. You need space to remember who you are. So let's talk strategy, not theory. Strategy. You don't break this pattern by deleting apps for a weekend. You break it by training your psychic muscles, by choosing new behaviors, small ones, daily ones that protect your peace like it's sacred. Start with this, the silent hour, 1 hour a day. No scrolling, no messaging, no reacting, just you. Breathing, writing, walking, sitting. Not to be productive, just to exist, undivided. You'll feel the withdrawal, you'll reach for the dopamine, you'll feel the itch to check, to scroll, to reply. Good. That's the edge. That's where your power starts to return. Then add this, the hard no. One request today, just one, that you decline with clarity. No over-explaining, no guilt management, no apology for having limits. Because every time you say no with alignment, you say yes to yourself. Every time you hold your line, you reclaim your direction. And finally, the profile audit. Ask yourself honestly, brutally, about your digital presence. Is this me or my persona? Am I sharing from clarity or craving? Is this an expression or a performance? Audit your feed like it's your psychic home, because it is. And clean house like your integrity depends on it, because it does. You don't need to announce your boundaries. You don't need to justify your silence. You don't need to explain why you're no longer available for emotional leakage. You just need to choose it. Choose quiet over chaos. Choose truth over trend. Choose direction over distraction, because the more you choose from presence, the less you need validation. Say it. The real me doesn't need validation. It needs space. Every no to the world is a yes to my center. I protect my energy like it's sacred. And it is, because this isn't just about managing screen time. It's about mastering self-respect. It's about waking up from emotional hypnosis and choosing your life from the inside out. Most people won't do this. They'll keep reacting, keep explaining, keep overperforming their identity. But not you. You're waking up, you're recentering, you're stepping out of the loop of over-availability and back into the seat of authorship. Because this is your life, not your followers. Not your group chats, not your personas, yours. So let the feed run without you. Let the messages wait. Let the noise keep screaming for attention. You've got something more important to do. Reclaim your sovereignty. Your voice is not a product. Your mind is not a feed. Your energy is not on demand. You are not a brand. You are a human being, with a center, with a boundary, with a will. And the moment you start living from that place, everything changes. Look around you. The internet has become your mirror, not of who you are, but of who you're expected to be. It reflects the persona, the pressure, the projection. And here's what no one tells you. You're not scrolling for entertainment anymore. You're scrolling to remember who you think you're supposed to be. But that version of you, That curated, filtered, fast-responding, always available version. It's not your truth. It's a ghost made of expectation. A character you've built to survive, a system that feeds on identity performance. So now the question is, are you ready to choose something different? Because awareness without action is just a loop, and you've been looping long enough. This is your moment to break it. You don't need a weekend retreat. You don't need to disappear from the world. You don't need to post a farewell story or announce your digital death. You just need to make a decision, a real one that costs comfort, one that confronts the pattern, one that says, I choose presence over performance. So let's do it right here, right now. Cut one pattern, one habit that keeps draining you, one reaction that keeps scattering you, one behavior that keeps diluting your voice. Maybe it's saying yes too fast. Maybe it's checking messages before you check in with your breath. Maybe it's sharing before you're clear, just to feel included. Cut it, not next week, now. Because that pattern is not harmless, it's a leak, and leaks drown the strongest ships. Then reclaim one boundary, not with aggression, with precision. Maybe it's silence, maybe it's saying not today, maybe it's turning the phone face down and turning your attention inward. Make it sacred, hold it like a non-negotiable, because your inner peace is not optional, it's foundational. You can't build clarity on a fractured nervous system. And finally, decide who you are before the world tells you. Jung said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But you'll never become that if you're busy becoming what everyone else wants you to be. So stop reacting. Stop waiting for permission. Stop asking the noise for direction. You already know. You feel it. That quiet truth beneath the scrolls and strategies. That voice that whispers, this isn't it. That ache that says there's more to me than what I show. Listen to it. Anchor to it. Let it guide you out of the loop. Because here's the ultimate truth. The internet is your new collective unconscious. It holds your projections, your personas, your emotional shadows, all out in the open. But that doesn't mean you have to be consumed by it. It means you have a choice to see it and not get swallowed by it. To notice the pull, but stay rooted in yourself. So the next time you're about to react, pause. The next time you feel the need to explain, breathe. The next time your fingers reach for the feed, return to your body. Say it with me. I don't dilute my truth for approval. I don't owe my energy to everyone. I unplug to remember who I am. This is your reset. This is your decision. This is your return. Not to silence, but to sovereignty. Not to isolation, but to inner alignment. The world will keep spinning. The algorithm will keep optimizing. The notifications will keep coming. But you will be centered, clear, awake, whole. No longer just another profile in the stream, but a presence, grounded, conscious, and untouchable. Now close the app, hold your line, and start living from the inside out.